Thanks for coming to this week's high availability meeting. And this week, I do have a PR submitted by Marian from NVIDIA to the Open Compute SAI branch experimental here. He wanted me to share it with you all. I'm not sure if y'all have seen it, but he asked me to share it here with the community and maybe look it over before we meet next week. So it looks like he's defined some code here. And I can put the link in the chat window. Have you guys seen this?
I haven't seen this latest one. This looks like a new PR, right? Because he did a merge already into SAI some months ago with the Dash experimental, and this looks like a few more attributes for the HA aspects, which is good that he's doing it now. Makes sense.
So it looks like, yep, session role, session attributes, blah, blah. Keep going. SAI status. Okay, so I guess there's about 206 lines to look over if this is something you guys want to take a look at.
So one quick question. I believe, eventually our goal is to auto-generate this one through some P4 behavior model, right? Right now, this is just experimental.
Well, this experimental, even currently the behavioral model V2 project that Marian put under Dash is using experimental for Dash. So Dash right now is still under the experimental area of SAI. It was already experimental. He's just adding more to it. So that's almost like a meta discussion. At what point does SAI become, does Dash become non-experimental in the large sense? I don't know the answer to that question.
So this is under Dash project or SAI project?
No,
This is under,
this is SAI.
It's Open Compute here, right there, SAI, and then under experimental.
Yeah. And if you go look at the commit history of this repo, you'll see that Marian already added Dash to SAI experimental some months ago. You might be able to see it. You actually need to go to the SAI repo. You're in Marian's.
Oh no, I'm in.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Open Compute SAI.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you look at the commit history for experimental, if you just go under experimental folder, I believe if you look at history, you'll see add Dash API on March 10th. One more down. That's when it first became visible. What it does is it just identifies Dash as yet another experimental, entry in this whole scheme.
Thanks for the explanation. That's great.
I just learned about 2 weeks ago.
Right. Chris, you had talked about using SAI as a submodule within Dash.
Yes.
This is not the same, right?
No, this is a different subject. This is, well, there are orthogonal issues. So Marian has created a SAI experimental entry. SAI started in March. He's just adding to it as we go along, but including SAI as a submodule into Dash is a separate topic. That's just a way of configuration management. And I've already got that working, and I'll show it tomorrow morning.
Okay, sure. In that case, because even like from Intel, the work that we are doing for the, the test harness and all that, the code has to be upstreamed at some point. And the question is, within SAI, do we want to have a separate Dash project for all these changes, or will it go directly under SAI? That's, those are the discussions. I think we have not yet had.
True, and we probably don't have all the right people in this meeting to deep dive into that. It's not really an HA specific subject.
It is not, yes. It's not really
Probably could have
specific to
that
HA.
in
No.
the general meeting.
Well, I agree. This is Joe. We need to do that because having where you have the repo makes a difference legally on what's going on there. And we've had these issues in the past where it sits and whether companies can contribute and all that kind of stuff. So we need to have that discussion. Not in this meeting, but let's take note. We should make sure that the whole community is in alignment on where this is sitting and what it actually means legally.
Yeah, I don't really know the best practices of the whole SAI, community development. So probably be more of an audience in that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But I am incorporating what's currently in place into our build structure. And, we can always morph
And
it.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, if we need to move it or whatever, we'll do it later. But let's stick to HA for today.
Yeah, Gerald, what I was presenting was Marian submitted a pull request here to the Open Compute SAI folder and asked me to present it. He has a QBR. So this is his SAI proposal for HA API and share with the group and asked to leave comments. So that's what I was doing right here. I've put this link in the chat window. It's about 200 lines of definition.
And okay, so we need Michael and other engineers to review this. I'm sure they did it based on what we talked about, but we'll just need to go through this in detail. I don't think we can do that. I think that if people know it's here, everybody can then have a chance over the next week to go read it and come with comments, as opposed to trying to read it real time, because that's not possible.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was just presenting it for people to see and put it in the chat window for people to review. Great.
Marian had mentioned last week that he's going to raise the PR based on the discussions that we had last week. So,
yes,
sounds good. We'll review it offline as well.
Okay, great. And other things to address today. So last week we were talking about whether, the technology provider chooses a strict or loosely supported option and the trade-offs in the HA algorithm, et cetera. And I haven't seen more of a write-up on that. Was there a paper to be written? We created we converted John Carney's email to us into a markdown file for everyone to read in the Dash repo. I'll show you guys so we can take a look at that. And it's in documentation and high availability here, and then design. So these are the proposal, the new ideas from John and the original requirements. So if anyone has ideas or would like to go review these, please feel free. And Gerald, did you have a document we were maybe going to look at, or right?
No.
Okay.
I think last week there was one open, which is that when there are two HA partners that are equal cost from the host, from the VM, and the flows would be, distributed in the sense it would go to one of the HA partners versus the other, and that is not in our control because that's based on the algorithm that's implemented in the server. So the question was that how will we program from SDN the status of one of the HA partners to be the one that would sync the flows to the other side? It would be more like, basically that's not possible because the SDN may not be able to control that. So in that case, that variable that was added for status of, active status would be more like a query attribute, not something that SDN would write down to the device.
So is that a shorter question we can pose to the team here?
Yeah, the role of the HA partner as an active, um, um, I forget the term, but you know, if it's programmed as an active HA partner for that flow, that will not be something that the SDN controller will be able to determine. That's not deterministic from the standpoint of the SDN controller. It is, you know, it can, it will be based on how the, you know, which HA partner the flow will actually go to, and that will be more like a query attribute, suppose, right? As querying the status of the device, that whether it is active HA partner or not for that particular flow. And it will not be possible for us to assign that from the SDN standpoint. I'm not sure
So
if
that's probably more of a Michael question then, Gerald. I'll take that to the end.
So I'm not sure why we're talking about querying flows. Flows are happening in the millions per second being closed. We can't really query a flow so much.
correct. That part is totally agreeable. I think if we go back to the slides that Marian had presented last time, or maybe it's here somewhere, there was in the session attribute in the one of the session attributes was the active role for the device to sync the flows to the partner, HA partner device. And that's something that we cannot assign from the SDN standpoint in case of the topology where the two HA partners are equidistant from the server where the flows originated from.
No. We guarantee where it will. So we use community strings or other means to control that. They can be equal distance. Only one's going to be selected as the primary.
Correct, and that's up to the server, right?
It's up to the package just won't land there because it'll see it as a longer path, you know, the alternate. So it will go to the primary always. If you remove the primary, then BGP will force you to go to the other.
In that case, one of the paths has to be longer and one path has to be shorter. If
But
it
not
is
physically, not physically longer. Just BGP allows you to append ASs artificially to make it look longer.
Okay.
Physically, they're going to be, they could be, and most likely will be equidistance. But logically, one will look longer. There's a few ways you can do that. But one of the ways is you just append another AS and it will look longer.
Right, we can adjust the med values, etc., to you know, attract one or the other as well. Yeah.
So that's
if that is always
outside. All we need to guarantee in Dash is that it's going to arrive at, you know, the primary will be the preferred. And that's all we need to do in Dash. And BGP and how people want to configure it, whether they use meds, whether they use you know, AS prepins and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of outside the scope as long as it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd agreed to use the terms preferred and non-preferred to not get hung up on how.
Yeah.
In that case, we need to, you know, clarify that the paths are never going to be equidistant, at least from the routing standpoint. And then it will be totally fine, and it can always be written from the SDN.
Yeah, there'll be a higher cost. I don't know about using the word distance, but there'll be a higher cost. The one versus the other.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for answering that, Gerald and everyone. And so, yeah, that's what I have for this week. And unless you guys have anything else.
So I guess the action is to really review in detail what Mellanox is submitted to get comments.
Mhm.
Now that it's submitted, it's really hard to just submit and then review. Like you have to give everybody a week to do that.
Yeah, he only gave this to me last night, Gerald, like right before bed. Yeah.
And that's fine. They've done a lot of work, obviously, to get it to that state. So now we just need another week for everybody to review it and come back with comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully we can get through this relatively quickly, because I know that there's a lot of people anxiously awaiting to get back onto the how HA is done. But I think this isn't the right order in importance. Just get this out of the way so that we can move on.
So everyone on the call knows how to go in and make a comment, all that kind of thing. I'm going to take that as a yes then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Gerald, Carol Ann decided to join today, so wanted to let you know she's here.
I
hello.
saw her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I have, guys. So thank you very much for coming today. And if you could, please go ahead and review the PR. Let Marian know what you think, or if there's any changes or corrections needed, and we can see you next week.
Now, is Prince on the call today?
Let me look.
Make sure that Prince, and Michael are reviewing it.
They're invited, for sure.
Yeah, just make sure they understand that it was posted and that they do need to review it.
Yeah, I'll do an internal chat with them and make sure they know.
Okay, good.
Okay, all right. I'm going to stop recording, and thank you everyone for coming. Please reach